Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another segment of the Cash Geeks Network. As you guys know, we bring the heat every Tuesday live with somebody in the game who's crushing it one way or another in the real estate industry. And today, by the way, our show is sponsored by Coast2Coast Mortgage on the drinking. But with that being said, today I have a true powerhouse in the real estate game. Is there anything that you don't do, Jeff?
Can't really say.
Yeah. So today we have Jeff Weller. He is one of the biggest investors that I know personally. And this guy buys houses like if they're freaking shoes from a sneaker collector. Like that's the way that I see you buy houses. But that is not the main thing that you do, right? So you have one of the largest mortgage companies in the state of Florida, right?
Yes.
So you own Coast2Coast Mortgage. You buy houses. I mean, how many houses are you buying on like a monthly basis right now?
I slowed down a little bit this year. I think I'm at 14 this year, but the year's not over yet.
Correct. And it's a funky year, but just buying house, and you mainly buy to keep, right? We were just talking about that before the show. But before I get into all of this, tell them a little bit about yourself. What is it that you do? How long have you been in the game? And
Okay. Well, Jeff Weller, been in the game of real estate since, I started in mortgages in 2000, and I started investing probably around 2003, 2004. I bought my first house, and then I bought my first rental property the next year. So I've been doing it for quite some time. I've made every mistake in the book, which is how I've gotten to where I'm at now. Because, you can't go straight from point A to success. You go to point A to point B, then you fall back to point A again. And you go to point B and P to C, and then you fall back to B again. So, so that's kind of where it was. But, we started Coast2Coast Mortgage a while back, several years ago. And it was originally founded in 2010. And we've just grown it to over 100 loan officers and just continue to make it bigger. And as far as the investing side, I've been investing, like I said, for close to 20 years and just trying to find new ways and new strategies to grow the portfolio and to just make it a true business, a part-time business.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so right now, I know you were kind of one of the bigger Airbnb short-term rental investors here in town when it first got started, right? And I just remember you rolled out a product for Airbnbs to be able to lend on Airbnbs. And I just thought that was amazing, fascinating. And then now you're kind of getting into the same, except the new sexy investing thing is PadSplits.
Right.
And so can we talk a little bit about PadSplits?
Yeah, sure. So for anybody who doesn't know what a PadSplit is, and I'm going to spell it because people, whenever I say it, I think the way I say it, it sounds weird, but PAD and then split like you split your pants. So PadSplit. So what a PadSplit is a rent by the room system. And PadSplit is a platform. I would say a platform like Airbnb, but it's a little different. But PadSplit is a rent by the room by the week situation. And the average, I believe they say the average guest stays about 7 to 9 months. And you charge a weekly fee. But the great thing about PadSplit is you're not the person who is trying to collect all these monies and put the people in the house. That's what PadSplit does. They do their background checks, their screenings, and they make sure they're not putting in somebody who's, got a felony from last year. They do all their checks to make sure they're putting in decent, hardworking people into these homes and into your property. And so that it's been a blessing having PadSplit and to be able to grow our portfolio to include PadSplit.
Yeah. And so have you converted any Airbnbs to PadSplits, or are you just buying PadSplits from the jump?
Great question. So originally we were just buying houses, renovating them, turning them into PadSplits and making them live rooms and renting them out. And by the way, I have to say I'm 100% occupied on all my rooms right now in PadSplit. Wow. So that is fantastic.
How many do you
have? 34 doors. And I know when I sent you said how many before, I counted 33. That's because I was counting in my head. So, mortgage people can't count in your head, right? You gotta write it down. So I 34 rooms and another 6 probably coming on in a week or so. And then I have several in the pipeline. I should be around 86 rooms probably by March or April.
Wow. And how many doors or rooms does your average home have?
I would say probably between 6 and 8.
6 and 8. Okay.
Typically what we do and what the PadSplit model is you basically get single family returns. I mean, multifamily returns for single family homes.
Right.
I wouldn't do it if it was the other way around.
And the way you do that is by turning your single family house into a multifamily. No.
Kind of, but not really. So what PadSplit is known for is encouraging the host to find conversions, convert your dining room that's not really being used into a bedroom, the living room into 1 or 2 bedrooms, right. The garage into bedrooms. There's pros and cons to doing each of those things, but typically I try to keep it still looking like a home. Like the very first one I did, I actually bought the house from you. You probably don't remember that.
Oh, no.
But I bought a house from you, and it was a 5.2.5, and I turned it into an 8.3.
Shouldn't have sold it.
Yeah,
I messed up.
You did, because it brings in about $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even think I made $6,000 on that deal.
I don't think you did either. It was like one of those last minute, hey, I got to sell this in 3 days. Can you close it? And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll wire the money. So that's kind of how it worked. But yeah, that house has been great. And I think we bought it from like 120 from you or something like that, or 130.
Nice.
And it was about a $60,000 renovation. And, and it brings in, $5,200 to $6,000 a month. And I did everything wrong on that one too. I mean, I didn't put pictures in the property. I put in old used furniture. I did everything wrong. I mean, I've gone back and corrected some of those mistakes with that property, but it's like, it was bringing in that kind of returns and I did everything wrong.
Wow. So what are some of the things that you look for right now on a PadSplit deal, as far as like analyzing properties? Let's say a deal hits your email inbox and you're just like, that's not a PadSplit. Mm-hmm. What makes something, oh shoot, is it square footage? It's already a X amount of rooms? Is the layout more priority? Like what makes you be like, oh, this is perfect for PadSplit?
All of the above, really.
Okay.
Square footage. And right now when I'm buying one, I don't buy it unless it's a 4.2 or larger. Okay. Because typically with a PadSplit, you can have 3 to 4 bedrooms per bathroom. But I just think about it. When I was growing up, we had a 4-bedroom house and 1 bathroom, and we were miserable because whenever you need the bathroom, somebody's in there reading the newspaper, or today they'd be looking on their phone, taking a long shower or whatever. Right. So I try to do a 3-to-1. So if I'm going to have an 8-bedroom, I want to have 3 bathrooms. If I'm going to have a 6-bedroom, then at minimum 2 bathrooms. Okay. So when I buy these, my strategy is to find maybe a 1,500 square foot or larger, preferably larger, 4.2. And then I try to see, looking at the layout, can I turn this giant living room into 2 bedrooms or 3? The minimum that they want is 80 square foot. And so ideally at least a minimum 8 by 10. But when I look at it, I'm just thinking, well, how can we make this into 10 by 12s or 10 by 14s, where you can have a little bit bigger rooms? So you can put desks in there, you can put mini fridges in there, and you can put different amenities in there that they can use. The one I'm getting ready to convert now is should be up in about a week or so. There's 1 bedroom that's so big. I should have made it 2 bedrooms, but I was thinking this is going to be the star feature of this house. I'm actually leaving a couch in that room. And so it's going to have a couch, a TV, a mini fridge, a bed, and it's even got a walk-in closet, a private entrance. But, a room like that, we can probably get, $250 a week out of it.
Jeez, that's crazy, man. And so what happens to the master bedrooms? Like, because they have like their own bathrooms. Is that just like a master suite that always gets rented out at a different rate?
You can do that, and you will get more money if it's got a private bathroom. Myself, it all depends upon the house. I mean, if you've got a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom home, then that's great. Leave a couple of bathrooms as suites. But if you're dealing with a 6-bedroom, 2-bath home, you really want to have access to both bathrooms from a hallway. Gotcha. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll go through a closet to get into the bathroom, just hope to God that the shower is not on the other side of the closet.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But one thing I will kind of say is it's important when you're doing these things to try to get permits done. Because when you're doing these properties, if you're not, if you're adding square footage onto a home, definitely get a permit. Yeah. When the lenders are looking at these loans, a lot of times they'll subtract value out of your appraisal if you don't have a permit for the work done. And so that's kind of a critical factor. Don't go and do it the cheap way. The last thing you want is a fire to happen on your house and it wasn't permitted and somebody gets hurt or dies. So do it the right way and get your permits done.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially if you're going to have 8 people in one house,
right,
all the time,
right,
renting out by the week. So no, I agree.
And
I
have
get,
the right insurance too.
yeah,
Because if
yeah,
you don't, I mean, like I put commercial insurance on mine, the same type of insurance you would have for a boarding house. And yes, it costs a lot more in Florida. As you know, in Florida, insurance is horrible right now.
yeah, yeah.
And so I'm paying $3,500 to $4,000 per year per policy. But I
Wow.
look at it as it's it's just like paying the electric bill.
Yeah.
You just gotta pay it, because if there is that fire, or if there's something that happens, it's going to happen when you have 7 or 8 people that are unrelated to each other living in a house.
Yes.
So protect yourself, protect your assets, and have the permits done so you have a safe structure to protect your guests.
Right. Because I mean, technically, if you, let's say you were not doing the PadSplit model and you have long-term rentals and you have 12 single-family homes, you have 12 tenants.
Right.
But if you have 12 single-family homes and you're doing the PadSplit model, that could be 36, 45 tenants.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now that's just crazy. Like the amount of risk just increased without even wanting it.
Right.
Right.
I mean, there is risk.
Right.
But what I will say is that, so far from my experiences, people try to get along, because what PadSplit does is they'll give people a key system. And I think they're getting ready to change the key system. But right now, each key is like a strike. So if you have a quarrel with somebody and it's maybe very loud and somebody reports it, they can take one of your keys away.
Oh, wow.
And again, it's not a real key. It's just like a strike. So if all 3 keys are gone, you're gone and you can't get back on the platform.
Right.
And so people don't want to lose that.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the client that is renting a PadSplit, it's not the people that are making $150,000 a year.
Right.
It's the single person that's maybe making, $2,000 to $4,000 a month.
Yep.
The typical guest we have is 25 to 40 years of age. And, they've got a W-2 job, and they're just trying to not have to spend their entire paycheck on an apartment or a house.
Yeah.
If you think of it, bad neighborhoods, to get a 2 or 3 bedroom house nowadays, you're going to pay $1,500 a month.
That's insane. And
then $300 or $400 for utilities, internet. So if somebody's making $2,500 a month or $3,000 a month and they're throwing out $2,000 in housing, that's not ideal. Yeah. So that's where PadSplit comes in. I mean, they can get a room for $139, $149 a month if it's a smaller room, all the way up to $250, and in some cities even more. Because they're in multiple cities. They're not just in Jacksonville. They're in Miami and Orlando and Tampa and several cities throughout the country.
Right. So why do you feel like you are going heavy on PadSplit? Is it like the model of just affordable housing? Is it because I know there's some reservation to people that are like, if I do all this to my house and then it doesn't work, I gotta I have to build the living room back and do all this. And so why are you so I guess gung-ho on it?
Well, anything you do is going to have risk. Whether you put money in the stock market, you put it in crypto, it's going to have risk. So when you put it in housing, there's also risk, but there's a little bit less risk. It costs less money to do demo work than it does to do construction work.
Got it.
So if you go in and you put in a couple walls and a couple doors and move a couple light switches, that's not near as expensive to put back the way it was than it is to put it in the first time.
Gotcha.
So if you ever need to sell that home, and that's another thing, PadSplit actually has a marketplace for fully converted homes. So if you have one that's fully converted as a PadSplit, and maybe it's not what you wanted, or maybe you need to sell it because you want to go buy that beach house. Yeah. Well, then, put it on the PadSplit market.
You just got a ton of equity in the house and you're just like, dude, I want to trade in that equity and go buy 2 more PadSplits.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because, that does happen. I mean, I have a client now who he paid cash for his property. He did all the renovations himself and he got it all done, got it on PadSplit, started renting it. It's like a 10-bedroom house. And then he's like, I can't do anymore because I put all my money into this property. Yep. So we're refinancing him, getting his cash back. Yep. And, and that's the other thing. There's limited financing on these. So we've created a product for it on our mortgage company.
And that's something I'm happy you brought that up, because I think that is just so unique as an entrepreneur, as a visionary, to see a need in the marketplace and to be in the position because of, how big your mortgage company is and how many connections you have to be able to build a product for something that you're experiencing a challenge with, right? Like, hey, I'm trying to buy as many of these as I can. I can't refi, or I can't do this unless I create it.
Right.
And then if I create it, then it won't just help me, but now I can go sell this product.
Exactly.
Right? And I can,
And I can't take credit for it. I mean, these investors are the ones taking the risk. They're the ones buying the notes, and they're the ones that make the rules in the end. But we we converse with them and we talk to them. How can we make this work? How can we, come to an understanding? How do we make it cash flow? What numbers will you accept? Well, what risk will you take?
Right.
And then we just work backwards and we find a solution. And right now we've got 2 investors that are willing to buy these. And we've got a couple more that are sitting on the fence thinking about doing it and jumping into it as well. Right. But getting back to that PadSplit marketplace, it seems like whenever a house gets listed up there, it sells quick, and we'll have 3 or 4 people call us all trying to buy the same house.
Yeah.
And so we got to keep our mouth shut and just get them pre-approved and tell them the great things about PadSplit,
Right.
but not tell them, hey, this other person just got pre-approved for the same house. You better make an offer. We can't say that.
Funny.
It's but you did ask what makes me gung ho about it. Well, I mean, right now, I see it as a great investment opportunity. The profits are amazing. From my personal experience on a 6-bedroom, 2-bath home that was just converted from a 4-2, if you have a $200,000 mortgage on something like that, what I'm seeing with all in expenses, you're $2,200-$2,300 a month. But if it's bringing in $4,500 a month, I mean, it's really good cash flow. Yeah. And if you have an 8-bedroom, it's even more. They're bringing in $5,000, $6,000 a month. Yeah. And your expenses are still going to be close to the same, $2,300, $2,400, $2,500 a month. So, it's a cash cow. And I'm officially 100% occupied. I don't have a single room to rent right now. Wow. So when I get this next house live, I'll have it going, and then finally I have something to rent. Yeah. But right now, that you can't rent any of my rooms at all.
Yeah, I remember Ray, showing me everything. He's like, I think it was at the last trade show or something. I had like a little after party afterwards. Ray came through, and he was showing me. He was like, "Dude, I just listed this yesterday, and all my rooms are booked." Yeah, I just listed this house yesterday. I was like, holy crap, that's insane.
Ray does a great job on his homes, and he tries to buy them in pretty nice areas.
Gotcha.
And in PadSplit, you can do C- areas, maybe even some D+ areas, and they'll still rent. I think Ray is kind of going more for the B- areas. He's going for a little bit nicer houses. So if he ever has to convert it back, he can sell it pretty quickly regardless.
What do you consider a D area? Have I sold you a house in a D area?
I don't think you have.
Okay.
No.
Have you bought in a D area?
I have years ago, and
now that's a C area.
Now the RC area is right. I mean, what I call a D area is where your air conditioner gets stolen.
Yes.
So like I had one that was in a D area, and I'm not going to name any zip codes or streets.
Oh, no, not at all.
But I had one where I had.
But if you did have to name a zip code, no.
Which one do you live in? No, kidding. What I did have one that was probably a D- area. Yeah. And I had a client. I bought the house. And it was funny because did I buy the house from you? I might have. I don't know. It was 3 or 4 years ago.
There was a couple of years in my wholesaling career where I only sold in D areas.
So I might have bought it from you. I don't know.
My name in the game.
But I remember I bought it for like $13,000. It was in a D area. I didn't even want to go to the neighborhood to look at it. But the only reason I bought it is because there was a tenant there paying like $750 a month, and I bought it for $13,000. I'm like, okay, fine. It can't be that bad. Well, anyway, I finally went out there one time to meet with the tenant. And I shouldn't even have went there, but then I realized there was another house on the lot, and I didn't even know there was another house there.
Oh, hell
so
yeah.
It actually had 2 houses on the lot. I'm like, man,
awesome.
If I would have known this, I would have rented that one out too. But the tenant actually ended up moving out, and when I went to meet him to get the keys, he literally moved out on a Friday, and he was buying his own house. So that's it was a legitimate reason to leave. But when he met me there that Saturday just to get the keys back, the front door was missing. You go inside. The cabinets were missing. Yeah. The water heater was missing. Yeah. The electrical was, the wires were cut, and they pulled as much copper out as they could. Oh yeah. The appliances were gone, and it's like all that happened overnight in that D- area. Yeah. And today it's probably a D+ or C- area because we've had a lot of improvements in the city. Oh yeah. But back then it was really scary. I mean, I had several horror stories. Like I said, tons of mistakes to learn from.
That was back when wholesalers could sell a house for $13,000 and still make some margin, and you could still find turnkey deals,
right,
for $15,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy. Yeah, I sold my brother and my dad a couple of those when I was just getting started. Yeah. And man, there were turnkey rentals and certain zip codes of Jacksonville where you were all in at freaking $18,000, $20,000, and they're bringing in $750. And those days are gone, man.
They're gone now. Yeah, and the worst areas you can buy in now, they're 6 figures. They're over 100,000.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah,
100%, man. This I can say. I will say this. I'm okay with saying this for me out there, but like that Ken Knight neighborhood. Fritten, Rico. Do you know what I'm talking about? Right off of Moncrief? Dude, I did a deal there probably 4 years ago where I put a house under contract for $1,000
Oh my goodness.
and I sold it for $8,000.
Mm.
And it was like turnkey. Now, dude, there's places selling in there for 60,000, 70,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like blown away.
Needing full rehabs.
Yeah. And I'm just blown away by like, dude, someone's paying 60,000 in Ken Knight. This is amazing. Yeah. But I'm like, I wouldn't even like, and I don't want to lock up deals because I still have that old mindset. I'm like, oh, this guy wants 50 grand off of Frid and Drive. There's no way. And then I go do comps. I'm like, oh crap, we might be just 20 grand off.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy how prices have. When did you start buying rentals in Jacksonville?
I moved to Jacksonville in 2000, I believe, or 2001. And my first rental that I had was in 2004.
Got it. Okay. So you first started in Jacksonville.
Yes.
So you've been in Jacksonville pretty much your whole career.
Correct.
Gotcha. Where'd you move from?
Illinois.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice, man. And so I guess I would like to segue into what are the things that make good PadSplits, right? Because you mentioned the first house you bought for me. By the way, I sell the best deals, obviously.
I've bought like 30 houses from you.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's insane. But you mentioned that first one, you did all the wrong things.
Yeah.
You highlighted used furniture, so you don't do that anymore.
Well,
or maybe
you look at it first and make sure it doesn't have screw holes in the top of it, and where lights were screwed to the mounted to the the chest of drawers or whatnot. Yeah.
Got it. So what are some of those lessons that you've learned from PadSplits?
Okay. Well, before we do that, one of the lessons I learned earlier was make sure you have somebody look at the property to make sure there's not two houses on one lot. So that was one lesson I learned. But the lessons that I've learned for PadSplit is about 50% of the people that are going to rent your rooms have a car. So you want to be near public transportation if you can, which is why it's really good that you're maybe in C- neighborhoods. You don't really want to target. I mean, I guess you could target higher end neighborhoods, but it's probably not financially going to make sense. Right. It probably doesn't make sense to have a PadSplit in Ponte Vedra, but as soon as I say that, somebody will do one and prove me wrong.
Cash flow.
Right. But find areas that are near public transportation, houses that have plenty of parking. You might want to look for houses that don't have a septic system, because if you have 7 or 8 people in a house, that's more than what a septic system is usually meant to have, unless you buy the right one.
It sure is. I'll say it's a lot of shit.
And I've had that issue, and it's a shitty situation to have somebody go out to dig it up to fix it, So, but that's actually one mistake I had. The first one I bought from you, by the way. I replaced the septic system knowing that I was going to make it a PadSplit, put the biggest septic system I could fit in the yard. And the pump went out. I had it fully occupied, 8 tenants in there. Pump went out, and it was like a Friday night at like 10 o'clock. I couldn't get anybody out there right away. Everything was backing up. The house is smelling, and I had 3 people move out that weekend. And I was like, man. And I got the guy out there on Monday or Tuesday to fix it. It was just the pump went out. He had to put a new pump in, and it was done. Yeah. And but people don't want to smell backed up sewage, so that's why now going forward, I'm trying not to buy houses for PadSplit that are on septic systems, because that's just one extra headache to worry about. Try to get something on city utilities. That's one of the biggest ones. And then be next to public transportation. Try to have something where they can go to a convenience store, a fast food place, just somewhere where they can get food. I'm going to go Simpsons here and say Quickie Mart. Get something that they can get some food without having to travel too far. Think about it. If somebody's on foot, they don't want to have to walk 4 miles to get to a Publix. Right. If they can go 4 blocks and get to a convenience store where they can get some bread and soda and food, whatever, So look for those types of things. Gotcha. That's what I would encourage. And then if you're going to have something a little bit further out, make sure to have plenty of parking so that everybody can have, you might just have to have people with cars. Got it.
And then what are some of the best practices, I guess, inside of the house? Right. So you mentioned furniture could play a big role.
Yeah.
Is there anything like in the kitchens, bathrooms areas?
It's really
signage, maybe like anything like that.
Well, I mean, signage. The signage we have is we put up the no smoking signs, no vaping signs. You want to be mindful of your neighbors. We put up the do not flush anything that didn't flush through your system signs in the restrooms. I try to put a ceiling fan in every bedroom. To me, if somebody's too hot and they're going to go crank your air down, or you have a ceiling fan in there and they might not. Got it. So be mindful of those types of things. One of the first things that I had a lot of complaining about was 8 people sharing one refrigerator. This person has milk with clumps in it and it smells bad, and this person's eating fish and, all that stuff. So I tend to put mini fridges in all my rooms now. And that way they can keep, you wouldn't want somebody drinking your beer, would you?
Yeah. No,
exactly.
Not my beer.
No,
talking about beer.
Yeah.
This show is brought to you by Coast2Coast Mortgage. And I think I need another one of these.
Mike. So that would be one of the things I would recommend. Ceiling fans, if you can, in every room. And if I can't fit a ceiling fan in a room because maybe the ceiling's not tall enough, maybe it's a 7-foot ceiling, sometimes that happens, then I'll get a floor standing fan and put it in the corner. As far as furniture, I do think that's important because, you either have to have a closet or you have to have like a chest of drawers or a bureau somewhere for them to put their clothes. And you don't necessarily have to have a closet in every room. I mean, sometimes you have a smaller room, maybe a 8x11 or something, and you don't want to eat up, 5 or 6 square foot of space with a closet. But you can put a clothing rack in there. They have adjustable clothing racks that might be, 18 inches wide all the way up to like 36 inches wide. So get something adjustable. And some of them have little places where they can put their shoes.
Yep.
We have one person that moved in and you were saying I buy houses like people buy shoes. We had one person move in and they literally had like a car full of shoes. They literally brought in like 40 pair of shoes all in boxes. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
That's their net worth is all in shoes.
It probably is. Yeah. And I've seen some people with some of those expensive Jordans that are selling for $5,000, so it's a business.
It's crazy.
But I would say, try to, just think about the person that's going to be staying in your room. What can you offer them that would make their life better? Right. Can you offer them nicer amenities? Thank you.
Right.
If you can offer that, then you're more likely to have them to stay. And, one thing you can get, this is so simple, is Walmart has a desk that's like $30.
Wow.
Like, granted, you got to put it together. So it's like putting IKEA furniture together, but it's like 15 inches deep and like 30 inches wide. But if somebody wants to put a laptop on it or a book, do some paperwork, they've got a place to do that, and it takes up very little space. You can have a separate chair in there for them. They need to have a place to sit. They can't just sit on the bed all the time. Nobody wants that. Right. So have a nice chair in there for them. I get nice chairs at Amazon. They're like $129 for 4 of them, and they're stylish. They come in really cool colors, blue and white and black and various colors. Personally, I like working with, there's a couple people in town that I like to work with for the furniture. If you need a turnkey solution, like you don't want to walk in the house, there's Dwell Staging, Jim Stock and his crew. And they're going to make it turnkey for you. I mean, you tell them what you want and they'll bill accordingly, so you can have, nothing in the house, and then they'll have pictures and mirrors and everything in there, utensils and whatever. And then there's another one, Kelly's Furniture. They're in Jacksonville also. They're very reasonable as well. And they can deliver furniture, set it all up and have you taken care of. So, there's 2 great options here in Jacksonville. And then there's actually a third one, the Furniture Source on the Avenues Mall. Will owns that one, and he has really good prices on brand new furniture. And I know he's been working out some deals with Ray and even delivering to Orlando. And and I know Jim. He does. I've seen him. I think he's went down as far down as Sarasota for deliveries.
Yeah.
And
hey,
Kelly.
If there's money to be made, Jim will go statewide.
Yeah. If there's enough money to be made, he'll probably go to like Alaska to deliver.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that man's always on a plane somewhere. And then Paul with Kelly's Furniture. I mean, what I love about what I love about those 2 guys, Paul and Jim both, is they'll both go look at the house and they'll tell you this is a queen.
Is right here in Arlington, right?
It's right here in Arlington. Yeah, full service store here in
Yeah.
Arlington. Yeah. And so he's done a lot of my Airbnbs in the past, and Jim has too. So, I mean, I like working with both of them. Yeah. So it's just nice to have multiple options. But, if you're buying out of area, if you live in Las Vegas and you're buying one in Jacksonville, then you've got options to connect with people that'll do all the staging and everything and just take the headache away.
Right.
But you were asking, some of the things that we do with the PadSplits. And one thing I do is we just started doing this recently and in fact, there was a young lady from Las Vegas that actually brought this to my attention. And she basically said that she puts numbers on each cabinet in the kitchen. So room 1 gets cabinet 1, you put a sticker on cabinet 1. Room 2 gets sticker 2 on cabinet number 2.
Oh, nice.
And so by doing that, what we're doing is we're putting in color coded dishes. So I don't put in like a stack of dishes. I gave you 1. So that way it's not sitting in the sink. You got 1 plate, 1 saucer, 1 bowl, 1 cup, 1 set of utensils. If you don't wash it, then that's your own fault. You can't
And
you
now
can't eat out of it
everybody
again.
knows.
Yes, and everybody knows your color.
Yes.
And everybody knows if you're the one that left it in the sink,
Yeah.
and they can knock your keys out
Yeah.
by not cleaning up after yourself.
Oh, that's interesting, man. That's what I did here because I started subleasing all these things.
Mhm.
So I gave people their cabinets in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what is the typical, and maybe you might have this number and it might just be a range, but like, what would you say is like, I want to ask you two numbers. Number one, what would you say is the average cost of changing your house to a PadSplit house?
Okay. So that really depends on how many bedrooms you're going to do.
Okay.
An example, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that I'm going to turn into a 5-bedroom, 2-bath home. And materials, labor, everything for me is about $9,000. So that one's a pretty simple one. Not a whole lot involved with it. Do have to put some relocate a couple ceiling fans and maybe a couple air vents. Nothing crazy. But I have paid more for some other houses. You know, the one that I made 8 bedrooms. Oh, geez, I think the conversion of that was right around $20,000. But we went from a 5.2.5 to an 8.3. So I think it might have been more than 20,000. But I don't remember because all the numbers were mixed in because of the full rehab. I mean, it had like rotten floors when I bought it. You know, you sold me a house that had rotten floors, so it's okay. I knew it going in.
That's why I barely made anything on it, man.
No, but it's been a home run, so I'm glad I bought
That's
it.
awesome.
It was worth it.
No, yeah, Jeff is great because he's the kind of guy that's like, seriously, that's probably how we do a lot of deals. Is like, dude, I can't sell this, or I just had a buyer back out. I need to close by Friday. What's your number? I'll renegotiate it. I'll make it happen. Like,
yeah,
I'd love to make a killing on every deal, but as long as I could just perform for the seller at the end of the day, if I can just make a couple grand, or sometimes, I mean, I'm sure I've sold you something where I make nothing. And it's just like, hey, this is zero assignment. I get to perform for the seller. I get to find Jeff another house, and we move on to the next one.
It works.
Right.
Yeah. And in fact, I know one of those you did do that. You told me you made 0 on it. And it's a great PadSplit making about $5,000 a month right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
and all I get is this coast to coast koozie.
Well, you got the shot glasses too.
I got the
mean,
shot
you know, you got
glasses.
the coast to coast shot
true.
glasses, you know, so why not
Yeah,
take advantage of those?
Yeah. By the way, guys, if you want to buy one of these, and okay, so that was the question on the rehab side. And then as far as furnishing and staging, what's the average cost on that if you have it or no? Or maybe it's different by room count.
It really is by room count.
Okay.
I know some people can do it. I mean, if you do it yourself, you know, you're probably going to buy cheaper furniture. You're probably going to go on Facebook Marketplace,
build it yourself.
You know, build it yourself and spend all those hours. You're probably going to spend $700 or $800 a room. Typically, you don't really have common areas other than maybe a dining room table somewhere and a couple chairs or whatever. But
you know, do you supply the mattress or do they bring their own mattress?
No, you supply the mattress, and I put a mattress cover on all of them.
Yeah.
One of the bed bug free ones, that prevent bed bugs. But some people provide bedding. I don't provide bedding because I feel like when somebody moves out and you got to clean the room, your bedding might be missing,
right?
Or but then you might have stains or whatever. So I just let them provide their own bedding. I put it in the listing. They provide their own bedding.
Got it.
But they'll have a nice bed. I always put in new mattresses because I don't want somebody sleeping on a lumpy mattress.
Yeah.
And you never know what you're going to get with the used one. So I just buy the new mattress.
Got it.
But, I mean, some of the home stagers, and I don't want to quote their prices, but I mean, some of the home stagers might be anywhere from, $1,100 to $1,400, $1,500 per room.
Got it.
But it all, again, comes down to what you want. Do you want them to put on a digital lock that'll connect to your Wi-Fi where you can change your codes from your phone? Right. Do you want them to put the numbers over the doors? Do you want them putting your appliances in the kitchen? I mean, how far do you want it to go? The more you want, then the more the cost is going to be.
Right.
But I know Jim with Dwell. I mean, he'll do the whole thing for you. It's just a matter of, the lazier you are, the more it's going to cost.
Yep.
But if you're across the country, then it's worth it.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, if you're in town, you might want to contribute a little bit toward that and go put the stickers on the cabinets and put in the plates yourself or whatever. But it's all customizable.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's totally up to you. Like I'm in town and I use Jim for all my Airbnbs, and he even staged my office. And I'm just like, dude, what would you do with my office? And then
it's funny, when I saw your office with the green chairs, I was like, somebody staged this. G did not do this.
Oh, there's no way.
There's no way.
There's no way. No. But that's awesome. So about $1,500 high end, $1,500 a room.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you would need to call them to confirm what the prices are. I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
But again, if you do it yourself, you're still going to probably spend $700 or $800.
Yeah.
But then you're going to be using cheap furniture.
Right.
If you go to Kelly's or you go to Dwell, they're going to have 100 beds in stock.
Yeah.
And you're going on Facebook, you're going to buy one, and then you go, oh, now I need to get a dresser. Oh, it doesn't match.
Yeah.
You're hodgepodging it.
Right.
So again, I recommend using one of those guys to make it easier.
Yeah. So what I want to get back to the financing side if you're cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
Created the PadSplit financing. What is different about that financing? Is it a higher interest rate? Is it a higher debt service? What's the how does that change?
So how that changes when you have your appraisal done and they walk in and it's 12 bedrooms. The first thing an appraiser is going to say is this is a, this is assisted living, or this is a, what do they call it? There's a term for it. I can't think of it. Boarding house. There we go. Yeah. And if an appraiser walks in and says, this is a boarding house, that's immediately a commercial property. Oh, this is residential. No, I can't do this appraisal. I'm walking away. So we try to find lenders that have, appraiser panels that maybe are a little more understanding of that.
Gotcha.
And so we have some appraisers locally and throughout the country that, actually do appraise boarding houses.
Gotcha.
And so when we place these orders, we look at the property, we try to get a Matterport or a layout of the house or like a video of you walking through the house, because we want to see what it looks like. We can see a house that's 8 bedrooms and the dining room and living room are converted, but maybe they still look like they could be a dining room and living room. There's nothing that says you have to have an open floor plan,
Correct.
When you're buying a house.
Yep.
So like one of the things I tell people is that if you want to try to do a regular loan on it, a DSCR loan, debt service coverage ratio, that's like the most common loan investors do, real estate investors, because the house just has to cash flow. If they're going to go off of market rent, whatever a family would pay to live there for 12 months, whatever that market rent is, and that qualifies for a DSCR loan, then you qualify if it cash flows. So that's where we start. If we can make it work with that, we have an investor that'll do that, and their rates are DSCR rates. They're good. I mean, today's market, they're all bad.
I know,
but
right?
August 22nd, 2023, you're in the 8s on that program,
which isn't bad.
It's not
DSCR right now.
It's not.
Yeah.
But if you do have one that really looks like a boarding house and it's 12 bedrooms or 14 bedrooms, we have an investor that'll do those too. And right now, I mean, they just raised their rates from 9s to the 10s.
Got it.
But if you have a 10 or 12 bedroom house, that thing's bringing in 5 digits. That's bringing in $10,000 a month.
Right.
So you can afford to pay an extra $200 or $300 a month for the mortgage. Yeah. You've got a property worth it. So we can do them when they look like boarding houses. And we just approached these investors and said, here's what we got, and worked out some things with them, some strategies. And my one DSCR lender that will do these, they want to see that Matterport. They want to look at it. They just want to see how bad does it look.
Right.
If they can make it look like a regular house, then they'll do the loan. And, one of the things I encourage my investors is that, if you want to rehab your house, leave the living room and dining room alone. Leave that alone until after you close on your loan. What you do after closing is your business.
Right.
But if you leave that looking normal, then you have a lot higher chance of getting a regular loan, even a conventional loan if somebody wants that. Yeah. But if you're doing and if you're going to convert all the rooms, then try to make it look like a dining room. If you're gonna make this dining room into a bedroom now, maybe take the door off and put a chandelier and a table and chairs below it. So that way the appraiser can visualize, oh, okay, this can be used as a dining room. Or your living room, maybe put a love seat in there and a coffee table. Yeah. Okay, you can visualize this as the living room. Just don't have like 8 boxed in rooms and a kitchen. And definitely leave some space for somebody to sit at a table and eat. You don't want everybody eating in their rooms nonstop. Have, maybe it's an eat-in kitchen, put a table and 2 or 3 chairs, 4 chairs, and just have space for other people.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So when should somebody reach out to you? Is it, before I get into that, is it still like 25% LTV?
For the most part, yes. I mean, if you're trying to do 20% down, it's going to be a lot harder to get that loan closed. There's going to be, again, regular rental properties, no problem. But, when it comes to PadSplit, it's a little more risk for the investor. Yep. So we really want to see 25% down. We can still refinance it and get you your renovation money back without really having to wait very long. So, we can get you still 75% financing on that. Just provide us some receipts, the rehab that you did, and we can get that done. So it's like the perfect loan to come out of a fix and flip loan or a private money loan. And they're 30-year financing. They're 30-year fixed loans. So it's a great product. And, once you get that loan locked in, you don't ever have to refinance it. It's a fixed rate. I mean, yeah, the rate might be in the 8s, or maybe you go the other route and it's in the 10s, but you don't have to refinance it. You don't got to go in there and change those walls later. But I do think that we're going to have new programs in about a year or two, as it's going to be like Airbnb was in 2015. It was like one lender doing Airbnb loans in 2015, right? But over time, 2018, 2019, okay, now there's 2 lenders, 2020, now there's 3 lenders, and they're getting more and more lenders. Now there's like 50 lenders doing Airbnbs. And it's like, okay, well, they need to jump on the PadSplit, method, and they're just not there. Like I said, we got 2, and we got maybe 2 more in our pocket that are, considering it. But I do believe next year, when people start having 12 months of proof of income on these PadSplits, I think next year maybe we'll have more opportunities for them to show the proof of income from PadSplit, and maybe we'll be able to refinance some of those as a PadSplit with a DSCR loan instead of using the market rent. Gotcha. Okay. So when an appraiser goes out, I just want to specify this.
Yes.
When an appraiser goes out, they'll appraise the value of the home, and they'll also appraise what the market rent is of the home. So whenever you have a DSCR loan, they're going to look at both. It's got a cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow, it's a no-go. You got to put more money down, get a lower rate. You got to do something else.
And what debt service are they looking for right now?
Well, if you're trying to get 75% financing, you typically need a 1.0. So your rent's $1,500, your mortgage payment's $1,500, you're good. Now, if you go the opposite direction and your rent is $1,400 and the mortgage payment's $1,500, well, you got to put more money down. You're probably going to be 70%, maybe even 65%. Just depends upon the property and the loan and the credit and all that stuff. Now, what I call the PadSplit loan that the first investor we got that does these, and again, right now they're in the 10s. Hopefully rates will change and they'll be back in the 9s and then maybe the 8s again soon. But my PadSplit loan, they don't consider any DSCR. There's no income documents. There's no debt service coverage ratio. Basically, you have 25% down. Everything that's been done on the property is permitted. It's not, a Frankenstein house or a Frankenhouse, as we call them. It's all legally zoned property. Then they'll close that loan. No income verification whatsoever. And the DSCR has no tax returns either. So it's you can use either of those methods.
Right, and that's just because they're just betting on, did this person's putting 25% down or leaving 25% into it? It's a good house. Worst case, we can just get out of it if we need to.
Exactly.
Right. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Do you have any other products where the lender is like that, where they just don't care?
I actually have one really, really unique bank statement loan program. I spoke to one of my investors about a year ago, and I'd like to take the credit that I planted the seed. He ended up doing all the work making the product. But right now, bank statement loans are for self-employed people, typically.
Right.
And most bank statement loans don't favor real estate investors. They don't count rental income. They don't count flip income. They wouldn't count wholesalers' income. There's a lot of stuff they don't count. And so a friend of mine, I spoke with him, and he and I talked about this. He created the product. We kind of said, hey, if rates hit 10, 11% next year, how are we going to refinance these people out of hard money? We got to have a solution. And so that's what we were thinking about, 18 months ago, when rates were starting to hit 5%, 5.5%, 6%. And so we had this conversation back then. And so we kind of put our heads together. He did all the work. I just threw out ideas, and he got investors to buy into it. But we created, or I should say he created a bank statement loan for real estate investors. And it can be used for anybody. I mean, you can own a pizza shop and qualify with it. But basically what we'll do is there's no debt service coverage ratio on that program. You can have a completely vacant house. It doesn't matter. And what we look at is you can, if you're a flipper and say you flip 3 or 4 houses a year and you make 50 grand per house, that's 200 grand, right? We're going to give you 50% of those deposits as your income. You just added $100,000 into your income. Maybe you have a business where you're, I don't know. I like to use this example a lot because I had a client a couple of years ago that owned a pizza shop. And I used to eat at this pizza shop all the time. That's how I met the client. And we tried looking into they were trying to buy their first home, and we looked at their tax returns, and their income was like $35,000 a year. That's what they showed on their tax returns. But you look at their bank statements, and they were depositing like 40, 50 grand a month every time they swiped a card when they sold a pizza. And so, we were able to count 50% of those credit card swipes. And so that's why I was like, oh, this is really cool. So this real estate investor specific bank statement product will count those pizza swipes, those credit card swipes. They pretty much count all deposits that go in, with the exception of transfers, from your savings account to your checking. They won't count that. Right. They may not count cash deposits. It depends upon your business. If you own a nail salon, you got cash deposits, they'll understand that's what that is. If you own a mortgage company, they're not going to want cash deposits, right? But that product is really great because you can qualify for a lot of houses with that if you're self-employed, and that you wouldn't be able to qualify for normally. And it's a wonderful program. So if the DSCR doesn't work out on a normal loan, we can do that loan and qualify for multiple houses.
Dude, that's awesome. So what makes you create products? I don't know what it is, but I just find that super unique.
Well, again, it's not really me creating the product. It's me telling somebody we need to create this product, and then giving them my ideas and giving them my feedback.
And then saying, if you do it, I'll buy 50 houses.
Right. And so in the end, they take on the risk. I know a lot of executives at a lot of different companies, especially some of the boutique companies you've probably never heard of. And so when I have these conversations with them, I'm like, hey, this is what we really need. And then they'll say, well, what's the market doing? Because I have this we've got 200 plus lenders that we work with. And so I get to see the guidelines from all these different lenders. And of course, I don't share paperwork guidelines, but I can say, well, hey, there's a company doing this. There's a company doing this. Right. Why don't we do a blend of this and that and make it better? Can you get your investor to do that? And then they'll put it all on paper and they'll reach out to their investors and see who will buy it. And when we come up with a winning combination, then everybody's happy. And that's how the PadSplit loan kind of came around. Right. We came up with a winning combination with one of our favorite investors, and we're closing a lot of them. I mean, we put in, at least 15 loans last month that were specifically for PadSplit, purchases and refinances. So PadSplit has been a blessing to all of us. I mean, I feel like I know, most of the upper management there, they've all called me when they found out we had a PadSplit loan, and they've been very generous referring people over to us, and it's been wonderful.
That's awesome, man. So when does an investor reach out to you as far as they're thinking about, hey, I ran the numbers, I talked to PadSplit. By the way, guys, if you're watching, we're going to have one of the local PadSplit reps here on the podcast. So that's why I thought it'd be perfect to have Jeff on week before. We can talk about the investment side, and then we can talk to PadSplit next week. But let's say someone talked to PadSplit, they're analyzing a property. When should they reach out to you to try to get the financing for it? Is it after they bought it, they got the hard money, they did all the rehab? Is it before they buy it, just to check with you?
They can reach out to us at any time. I mean, we can help them with the hard money. We can, we work with a lot of the big players in town that do private and hard money. We actually lend through some of them, so we can do the fix and flip products ourselves. And sometimes we just refer it out. Right. And it just depends upon their timelines. If they need to close in 5 or 6 days, I might refer it to this person or that person, and they'll get it done in 5 or 6 days. Nice. But realistically, when you have something in mind for a PadSplit, it's good to talk to somebody because, I will recommend somebody to call Emmanuel. He's local here in Jacksonville.
And that's who's going to be on the show next week.
Yeah. And he's amazing. The guy is, he's so knowledgeable about PadSplit. I mean, he's all in. I know he just started in the Jacksonville market recently, but he is all in. He'll come look at your house and tell you, hey, I know you're going to convert this to a 6-bedroom, but there's a room over here. You can make 7. And then if you do that, you can make this 8. And that just brings you $1,500 more in income. Yeah. Ray and Oriana out of Orlando. They're, I think they're getting married this weekend, if I remember correctly. They're down in Medellin in Colombia. Yeah. So shout out to Ray and Oriana. And, but they were awesome. They actually walked my first PadSplit and said, hey, I was going to make it 6 bedrooms. And like, no. Do this and do this. Now it's 8 bedrooms. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. So I had him walk my next one, and I was going to do it just as a regular 4-bedroom because it was kind of like an antique type of home built in 1910, and I had coffered ceilings, and I didn't want to change it too much. And I'm like, nah. Just put a wall here, put a wall here, put a door here. I did it. Now it's 6 bedrooms instead of 4, and I'm bringing in another $1,500 a month versus what I would have done. So definitely have these guys connect with you, and I can give anybody their contact info that's interested. Even on our website, we do have a little contact form to reach out to a PadSplit rep. And but I would say just talk to us. We can give you ideas. We'll tell you what we recommend. You know, the little tips and tricks of how we rent rooms and get them rented really quickly. You know, when you talk to us, it's more than just talking to a mortgage company. I mean, we want people to have generational wealth.
Yeah.
We want people to do so well that they just have to go buy another house. You know, I'm trying to give them the Jeff disease. You know, it's you buy one. Oh, now I'm going to buy another one. Okay, now I'm going to save up and buy another one. Okay, now I'm going to buy another one. You know, we want them all to get hooked.
It's a good disease to have.
It's an addiction. I got to have another house this week. You know, it's like, but that's what we want people to have. We want them to have success, to have properties they can leave to their families and make generational wealth.
That's awesome. So it's funny because I was just reading the comments, and Christina Rodriguez, she commented when we were talking about the Kenai area, and she's like, bought 5 houses for $5K each and sold it for $45K each. I know that name.
Nice.
And Maria says she loves PadSplit. I know she has a couple PadSplits, I think, already.
Yeah, she's kicking butt with them.
Yeah.
You know, she's
awesome.
Got some.
We got comments there. Can you pin them up on the?
I'll go through them.
Because I'm 47 and my eyes are not that good.
Yeah,
so.
I just got new glasses and I'm still blind. So let's see, what do we got? Let's go, Jeff and G from who is that? Big REI Growth. Okay.
Emmanuel.
Oh, that's Emmanuel.
That's E.
There we go. Hell yeah. What's up, E? I'll see you next week. That's awesome. Love the color plates idea and number cabinets. Yeah.
And I get those.
Dropping knowledge.
I get those colored plates and cups and everything at Target. And I believe it or not, I got that from a PadSplit call.
Wow.
Somebody actually brought up the plates because I wasn't going to do that. One person mentioned the numbers on the cabinets. The next person mentioned the colored plates. Target has them for 50 cents a piece.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome. That's cool, man. So let's see. 2 Titans in our Jayville PadSplit. So that Quentin. Quentin went. What's up, man? I appreciate you tuning in, man. So what is next for Mr. Jeff Weller?
100 doors.
100 doors. Where are you at now? You said
on PadSplit, I'm actually at 34 right now.
Okay.
I've got 6 more probably in the next week or 2.
Okay.
And then I've got, I think 7 houses being renovated right now.
Jesus. 7 houses for PadSplit?
Yes.
And when you say 100 doors, is that 100 PadSplit doors?
100 PadSplit doors.
Not considering your other houses?
Yeah, I'm going to convert some of my lower producing Airbnbs to PadSplit. So that's kind of a quick way to get doors.
Yeah.
I'm converting.
You don't like that. You want a challenge.
I want a challenge, but I will say though, I mean, I love my Airbnb. You just want more money. You just want to buy more houses, but I'll still take your challenge.
Hell yeah.
But I am converting some of the lower hanging fruit, because I've got like 16 or 17 Airbnbs right now, and there's probably 7 or 8 doing fairly well. And then there's like 3 or 4 that are like, could go either way. And there's like 4 that are like, okay, I got to do something with these. Either I sell them or I got to switch them.
You're hopeful, and then next month they're like, maybe it'll change my mind next month.
That's what you hope for, right?
Then next month hits, and you're like, oh shit, I really got to do something. But I'll see next month. It's a good month next month.
Exactly. And then I look at it this way, like I've got 2 Airbnbs that are like on the same street.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can convert those both into PadSplits. They're not far away from a bus stop. They're in a decent location. And what we're finding, by the way, we love our Airbnbs. We love our Airbnb people, our property managers in town. There's some really good ones. But I think what people are going to say about the Airbnb is that if you've got something that is nicer than the people, basically the people that are going to stay in your home, they want that home to be nicer than where they live now.
Yeah.
And if you're just putting up a regular house with regular furniture in a regular neighborhood, it might rent. You might do well with it, but there's a lot lower chance than if you have that oceanfront home or that pool home, that home on the lake with a boat in the back. People look for amenities.
Yeah.
And when you're renting on Airbnb, if you don't have any of those amenities, you just got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and that's it. A TV in the living room. Those are the houses you want to convert to PadSplit, in my opinion.
Agree.
I mean, if you're doing great with your numbers, great, no problem. But those are the ones that I'm converting. I got the Airbnb bug a few years ago, and I did everything I bought, I turned into an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And the beauty is I already own all the furniture. So when I turn them to PadSplits, all I got to do is add another bedroom set or 2, and I'm done.
I agree.
So that's like what I'm going to do now. Some of that low hanging fruit, and that's what's going to help me to get to 100 doors as well. Nice. But when I look at it this way, 100 doors is about $1 million gross. And then when I've done the math based on how it's been so far, $1 million gross is probably going to be somewhere around the $400,000 net range.
Yeah. Jesus. And then you'll be buying dinner every time.
What do you mean?
That's
I'm buying the
awesome.
house from you. You can buy
That's
the
true.
dinner,
That's true.
right?
Yeah. Not when I call you and I make $0,000.
Then I'll let you stay in. Then I'll let you stay in the pad split for a week.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. So how can people reach out to you? How can they learn more about you? What's the best way to get in contact?
So if you want to reach out to me, we actually have like a contact us button on our website.
Okay.
And so we try to make it easy. So we have padsplitloans.com. So that it actually redirects to our Coast to Coast Mortgage website, but padsplitloans.com. And then it takes you to an informational page on our website about PadSplit. And there's a little contact us box on the right there. You can email me or call me. I will say, though, because of PadSplit being so amazing and sending so many clients over, I'm booked out almost a week. So I've got an amazing teammate named Mikey Kingen, and he is amazing also. He's looking for his first PadSplit now. He's trying to put together a PadSplit.
Nice.
And
I can sell him a house.
You probably can. Yeah. But he's got a lot of investor experience and rehab experience, and he's top notch. And so if you can't catch me, you can connect with Mike. He knows his stuff. He's like a sponge. I tell him a guideline and he's got it memorized, and I'll forget it the next day and I'll ask him, what was that guideline again? He'll tell me. Nice. You know, he's smart. So, but he's a great source there. But to reach us, you can call my office number, which is 904-500-LOAN. So loan is 5626. So 904-500-LOAN. Email Jeff@coast2coastmortgage.com. And that's the number 2. So coast2coastmortgage.com. And if you want to join our Facebook group, there's a lot of people posting houses for sale there now. People showing, renovations. I posted a floor plan of one of our houses on there recently. But you can go, it's like a shortcut, just go to info.padsplitloans.com. And if you type that in, then it'll take you right to our Facebook group. Join it and ask questions. We're happy to ask questions, answer questions about the financing and everything there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned floor plans. So who does that? Is that like is that what their role is, or like
no?
Who thinks of you can put 8 rooms here?
So for myself, I mean, they will give you the ideas if you don't have them.
Okay.
I've learned from them how to do it myself.
Got it.
But when I walk a property, I'll bring my contractor, and Christian and I'll look at it together. He's one of my main contractors, and we'll kind of figure out what we want, and if you want to walk it yourself, put blue tape down so you can imagine where the walls are going to be and all that stuff. But that's how you envision it. And, as far as like making the floor plan, my brother does a lot of photography for Airbnbs, and he's been doing some PadSplit photography for me as well. And one nice thing is he actually creates a floor plan that we put on PadSplit, so you can actually see, hey, I want room number 4. Where's that at? Okay, cool. That's right next to the restroom. Or, oh, that's right by the kitchen. I want room number 2. It's by the kitchen. Yeah. You can kind of see the layout of the house. And so that's something I recommend to people. Get that little floor plan layout done. Hopefully your photographer can do it. Usually if they're doing a Matterport, then they'll usually be able to come up with a floor plan for you. And it does help have your houses rent quicker.
Nice. That's awesome. So what kind of guy are you? Would you be near the kitchen, near the bathroom, back door?
Probably in between both.
Okay.
Yeah, because once you leave the kitchen, you got to go to the bathroom, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's awesome. Well, dude, I appreciate you doing this, man. This is always a blast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being an open book. I feel like you've answered everything through experience and not hidden any of your secrets. Like you're an active PadSplit investor, so you don't want to, maybe some people don't want to share their secrets of what makes it successful or not.
I might have kept a couple of them,
okay,
but
that's okay.
But
that's
I sometimes do tell my customers those secrets.
Nice.
So when somebody's a customer and they're buying a house or refinancing, sometimes you get those secrets.
I love that. Once you buy 50 houses, then I start giving you the better deals. So one day you'll
50 in general or 50 from you, because I've already exceeded the 50.
That's true. 50 from me. Then you'll get those better deals.
That's like $1 over cost at that point.
I have thought about creating like a point system. Hey, after you buy 5 houses, I'll cover closing costs. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
But I appreciate you doing this, man. Again, like I said, you've been an open book, and I hope people realize who I have here on the show. Like, this is a massive investor that not only buys and does tons of deals, creates the lending products to make it doable for everybody in the community. So I really appreciate doing this. And if you tuned in late and maybe you didn't watch all of this, or you want to rewatch this is going to be on my Facebook page and on our YouTube channel, the Cash Geeks Network. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, all the above. So check us out. But I appreciate you guys checking in. I will be with E representing PadSplit next week. So this is going to be a great segue to that. I will see you guys next week. Jeff, thanks again.